I didn't have anything specific I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to play Minecraft. I'm rocking a low amount of sleep, but that's okay. We definitely needed more arrows. Something I learned between episodes. It's a good thing I didn't use all of these, though it isn't exactly possible to do so at the moment. Because apparently, let me see if I got the recipe down, Pat. I believe it is just like this for 7 diamonds. Yeah, you can turn 1 into 2 for 7 diamonds. You can do that with any trim, apparently. I did turn down the music from last time. Okay, so it shouldn't be overbearing. This time we're going to get some arrows, and I've been thinking about the theme, and we were going to go for a sort of eldritch theme. I already had decided that just because the dredge inspiration hit me. In terms of deciding a setting, there's a few ways we could decide how to do it. So, the classic Eldritch theme is Victorian Gothic era. You'll see that in things like Bloodborne. And it's popular for a reason. It's sort of the pinnacle of that type of stuff. The original just goes down to winding streets and fog, but Lovecraftian. Listen, Lovecraft wasn't a great guy, and he may have contributed a lot to the field of horror, pretty much being its founder. He is not the best Eldritch writer. Now, we do live in sort of like this desert strip, so there's probably something I could do with that. But we're probably going to end up doing sort of a hodgepodge of mixed fantasy elements, probably a little bit of gothic, a little bit of sort of rundown docks, which will end up hybriding into Eldritch pirate type stuff. So we're probably going to end up doing a fair mix. Though we are not in the place where we have a full set of cool tools and everything. So it'll be harder to just gather resources freely. We'll probably also be using bookshelves a lot in our decorations. Well, not a lot, but it'll be there in our decorations. Otherwise, another thing I wanted to do is whatever structure I end up building, I'll probably end up creating a fun pantheon of my eldritch. What do I even call them? Accomplices? Companions, I guess? My eldritch companions. As I am clearly the god of this world, I mean, nothing happens without me being there for it to happen. So clearly, that's got to say something. So I've got ideas for things like, you know, just general, no strict ideas at the moment. We're also going to need to do some exploring, but it's not an immediate thing. Also, golden apples, despite being less efficient, would still be very useful to have. So I have too much in my inventory. Let's just dump the fish. We have some food. Yeah, we'll keep both. I don't need the crossbow on me. Boat's useful. Shovel, sure, I have an axe, right? Do I need all these potions on me? It is just safer that way, huh? Thunderstorm? No, just regular rain. My inventory feels so limited. Also, I was looking at the trim. The reason I learned about that duplication was because I was looking at the different trims, because I wanted to know if you could do purple, because I'm a big fan of the color purple. It's got a bit of an eldritch place to it, and black accented with purple would probably look nice, and purple being amethyst. And it does exist. And there's a few really cool looking patterns. Like we'll probably put on the chest plate the one from the end cities because it has like a big eye. Not like the letter I, but like, you know, an eye. And it looks kind of neat. But for right now, I mean, we could use some more apples because golden apples are still useful. We have a lot of gold. So while less gold efficient, golden apples still serve a very integral purpose. They are not a primary source of healing anymore, but they are a quick battle stimulus. Or not stimulus isn't the right word. The point I'm making is that they enable us to, in the midst of combat, get the absorption hearts, and they stack. So just 5 golden apples is worth a full health bar, and it only takes up 1 slot. And as we see with the amount of potions I have on me, I probably have way too many on me for a basic just outing, but... Oh, I also need a backup bed for using. Well, I know exactly where I could find one. But you know, I played the character. We already have a lime bed for our main bed. I want to find a different color, like a dark green. I know I stole one of those. There we go. Thank you. So obviously, I played up a pretty big speech, and I think that's going to be the crux of the character going forwards. Obviously, the character will be very minor because I'll mainly just be ranting, but occasionally, you know, when I have things being built, when I'm naming animals, I'll be making those grandiose speeches. You know, I'll be having fun with it. And this is what I like to do. And, you know, you're probably not even listening to the exact words I say. You're probably just, I'm in the background. Well, I guess you are hearing the words I say, but it doesn't really matter what I say. And, you know, as we do more and more with this world, something actually fun to realize before I continue the statements I was on. Underwater caves only have the threat of drowned. So now that we have access to water breathing potions, we can go on pretty safe mining trips without any chance of fire damage. Whoa, this is quite the chasm. And it splits twice, and these just random pockets of desert are filled with water. Neat. We'll write this into the lore. As I was saying, we'll be able to avoid mobs and fire with the water breathing potions. We'll still have to worry about drowns, and a drowned with a trident can be a dangerous thing, especially because we don't have much going for us. Oh, a little pillager outpost in the middle of the desert. We'll write that into the lore too. Write that down, write that down. But there's not... Right now, there's not much lore to be written. I mean, the reason I feel pretty confident in saying, like, oh yeah, as the series goes on, is because it doesn't matter whether I die or not, because if I die, a new incarnation will be spawned in, and I'll probably just try to maintain the same theme, because it's something I currently feel uninterested in having as the themology. So it'll probably remain as a constant theme for a while. Additionally, we're in a very good spot right now. Health potions, generally good equipment, and recently we obtained a ton of diamonds, which I just wasted 7 of, but you know, we're advancing to the point of the next set of tools. I have a very good bow. Oh, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go get gravel. Well, if I see a gravel pile, I have shovel in. I also learned that there's a new structure that's like fake gravel or strange gravel. So I actually need to keep a lookout for that because I have no clue what that means. But it has loot in it and some unique designs. I'm not sure how good they look, but actually I think I didn't really enjoy any of them, but hey. Sometimes you need a slightly different trim for your backup accessories. But as I was saying with we're in a pretty good spot. And with this bow, while right now I only have 2 shots in it, it is very valuable. But, ooh, a Silk Touch Golden Pickaxe. There might be a gold block in there, but right now we are not desperate for gold. So I feel perfectly fine ignoring it for the time being. Right now we're looking for we're not exactly looking for a forest, we're sort of just looking around. Quite an expansive desert though. Oh, and there's a mesa. I was just talking about something. Right, the safety. A power 4 Unbreaking 3 bow, it's not your god bow. It's not your end game bow. But it is a very strong bow. And one strong bow is... Make sure we don't fall down these pits. A very strong bow does a great deal for you in a game like this where ranged attacks are your lifeblood. I imagine for 3 out of 4 of the bosses will be utilizing ranged weaponry. Now, if you don't know which one I'm excluding, just think about it for a moment. Are you done thinking about it for a moment? It's the Elder Guardian. The Elder Guardian, by virtue of being underwater, arrows move different underwater, so the bow will prove us worse. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to use a bow underwater, it'll just not be part of the plan. And don't worry, I got a plan. I have a pretty all-around good strat. I'm looking for carrots as well. This is all just wheat. The Elder Guardians I'm not too concerned about having good equipment for. In fact, there's only really one more thing I need, and then I will be enabled fully to completely decimate the first boss. Well, I guess there's 2 things. I also need to know where that boss is located. I would prefer not to have to go a far distance, because clearing out a close ocean temple would provide the immediate benefit of me being able to access the loot from the structure with ease. I'm not saying it's a requirement. I don't know if I'll need any of the loot from the structure. But in the case that I do, I would like to have access to it. And if it's really far away, it'll take a lot of work to transport the materials. Well, if close, I can go to it as I need. Or, I mean, it won't be... I don't think I have any directly next to my base, but... Yeah. Pretty deep crevice right here. Yeah. Neat. I don't have water breathing on me, so I can't go too deep. But... night approaches. Night has come. Night's what? Sorry. There isn't too much I'm looking for right now, besides, like, I guess a gravel patch and then just seeing what's about. I'm trying just to trample through this desert because of sort of like a desert temple, or, I mean, it's a very flat and open biome. You can see structures from quite a ways away, and there's a few structure types. Also, in terms of my whole companions with the elder gods, or whatever we want to call them right now, like, for example, Amon Goetamenium, that's sort of how I'm going to be just theming my animals. And the way I'm going to consider it is I'm going to tell their elaborate story and, make up some mythos behind it. And all other of the same creature is a potential conduit for this type of being. So, let's say by some means Iman Goetamenium falls in combat. That will just be his mortal body failing him, and he will rise again in a new camel. Sort of like that one we left in the cave. That was just us enacting the will of Amon Goetamenium and obtaining a new one. Of course. You didn't know it at the time. Ooh, a jungle. Well, jungles are also neat. We'll be able to get things like parrots. I'm not too sure on how taming of cats works anymore. That's something that I'm just... It used to be you just stand there with fish. Now you might still just stand there with fish, but not to ocelots. Maybe it works with ocelots, but ocelots are just a variant cat because now they're in villages. Also, we can get like a panda. Yeah, and I'm not going to say I think. They're pandas. They're not tameable, but like you can put a lead on one and bring it home. Parrots will be neat because they make noises. And we should kill the chickens with the looting sword because we will want to grab some arrows. Oh, not grab arrows, but make them. The chickens do not currently possess the arrows. I'm not going to kill the cows. Technically, yes. Killing the cows would be a good idea because I'll probably never be back here to this exact spot while looking for leather, but I just can't be bothered. But I'll get some more arrows, really stock up on those because while still a good ways off, I do suspect that the Ender Dragon isn't... Okay, so the Ender Dragon is a pretty decent ways off. The first we gotta deal with... Hey, there's a panda bear. First we have to deal with the Elder Guardian, who I don't mean to insult the boss and jinx myself, but it's not a jinxing. The boss has a really exploitable weakness unless they patched the trick I plan on using, which I doubt. The boss should be easily exploited and defeated with ease. All three of them. Now, it's not the fastest method, but it requires very little, and it's pretty safe. So, do with that information what you will, but it shouldn't be at all a threat. The main way of actually taking damage against the Elder Guardian will be the Thorns effect it has. But I mean, with axes now, with their huge damage, I can probably just freely stand there, wait for the spikes to retract, and then decimate it. And we found a gravel patch, so we'll dig this out. Grab ourselves a lot of flint, because we'll be making a lot of arrows. When we get to the dragon fight, we'll need lots of arrows, but we'll also want to collect a good amount of dragon's breath. Because dragon's breath will enable us to make lingering potions, and a lingering potion of healing can full heal you. as well as do damage to nearby mobs. Now, a lot of the elements of a lingering potion aren't that valuable to us, so there's no teamwork aspect of several people, but it also works as sort of an increased area splash potion. So in the case that I'm stuck in lava, or let's say I do need to heal quickly, it's far more efficient than a splash potion, which you'd have to aim effectively straight up in order to make sure you get the full value out of. So we won't be wasting our healing potions because all I have to do is splash it down and heal while in the area. I also don't know how potions really work against most of the bosses. I'm pretty sure the Ender Dragon's just immune to potion effects. But a mob like the Wither, I'm not sure if it takes damage to healing potions. And having lingering healing on the ground while we're taking the Wither effect might save our lives. It's not... The Wither is not a boss I'm that comfortable with in hardcore mode, because it's been a long time of me not playing this game and not fighting its bosses. And since I've not been playing Minecraft and fighting the Wither, I'm not accustomed to its attack pattern. I know generally what it can do, but I'm not accustomed to the damage output. I'm not accustomed to what equipment you need to deal with it safely. And as far as I'm concerned, the Wither does true damage because the Wither effect doesn't care about your armor, it just does damage over time, making it so that you really need to, without natural health regen, we're going to be taking explosions, and we're going to be taking general purpose true damage DOT, damage over time. And between those two alone, it's already going to be pretty sketchy. I doubt I'm going to enter the fight ill-prepared, but I mean, how can I know at this point how prepared I'll be for the Wither? It's a very far ways out. There we go, we now have over a stack of arrows. This means that we can start using our bow a little more liberally. And we don't need to kill as many chickens. I guess we'll start making our way back. We didn't find exactly what we were looking for, but which was nothing in particular, but we didn't find it. Here, we'll take the boat path around. Maybe we'll see something in the water. Alright, I see something in the water instantly. Probably would have seen it by land, but I definitely saw it by water. Gold. Another silk touch pickaxe. You can if you crouch on magma blocks, you don't take damage to them. If you stand on those channels of bubbles, they restore your oxygen. Though I think they can also pull ships under, so just be cautious of that. Ooh, that trim looks a little awkward from behind, but I don't mind it. Because I like how it looks from the front. Fun thing about finding amethyst, those big meteor blobs are very easy to see on the ocean floor. Like that. We should probably find a forest and just do some clear cutting, because I do need those apples, as I stated. Music does go hard, though. Sun's going down. Before we go to that shipwreck, I'm going to beach the ship and take a snooze. The tunes in this game go really hard nowadays. I bring it up all the time. Back when I played this game a lot, There was one Minecraft song when you had music on. It was the classic Minecraft theme. But now they've got this like adventuring music filled with suspense and mystery. This game truly is a gorgeous game. I don't mean in terms of just like it's the beauty of the aesthetics. Oh geez, we're having this problem again. Buried treasure map and a couple of feathers. Second chest, we'll grab that in a second. And nothing particularly interesting. Wait, I'm also looking for carrots. I didn't even... There might have been no carrots in there, but I am looking for carrots and I did not... Okay, there were no carrots. I just didn't intake that information, whether they existed or not. Huh, the map didn't do its normal shtick of being a treasure map. It was just a map. Oh, you know what? It probably didn't say buried treasure map, did it? It probably said empty map. Yeah, that makes sense. That would explain why it operated almost 100% like a map. Wild. This is one of the few games to have been bought by a huge game company that was just trying to squeeze all the money out of it, but is actually doing really well. So, for those of you who don't know, Mojang was bought entirely out by Microsoft a few years back for $2 billion with a B. And the main team actually just... I don't believe any of the original members of the Minecraft team work on this game anymore. But hey, you know what? There are a lot of just oak trees up there. But the game is turning out quite well. There have been some controversial updates, but I think in the long run has been for the better. The caves update has made the terrain generation wonky. Wonky's a good word for it, but not bad. I actually like these giant caves in the cave biomes. They're very nice. The oceans biome made it so that the oceans were no longer just bland. There was something in them. Way back in the day, I believe this was still under Mojang, the Nether update came out, or the first Nether update came out, which gave loot to fortresses. But the Nether Biomes update came out under Microsoft, I'm pretty sure. It appears that the team behind Minecraft at the moment, regardless of who they are, understand that at the core element of this game, people will do a lot with whatever they're given. It's a sandbox game. So enhancing the adventure aspects, the parts they can't influence by themselves, adding more blocks for them to build with, more landscape for them to shape and admire, it works out for the better. The caves have gotten far deeper. The end got changed. The boss fight, in the end, used to be just shoot the pillars, then shoot the Ender Dragon. Now the pillars are in the circle with the cages. It hasn't changed that much, but now he also has the Dragon Breath attack. The Elder Guardian was added in the Oceans update. The Wither was added in the first Nether update, but the Wither is still probably one of the neatest bosses out there. It chooses to aggro random enemies as well as you. It is truly a destroyer. Now this Warden in the Deep Dark, he's very cool animation-wise, very neat. It's a very cool idea to have a creature that tracks you based off sound, but Minecraft has gotten to the point where now it can record Well, it always had a visibility thing. Even games like Mind Z back in the day uh, use this as like the basis to their system. They probably used a plugin to enhance upon it, but things like invisibility decrease your detection. When you sneak, mobs do notice you less. That is a thing that happens. And there's a lot of attention to detail in a lot of what's happening in Minecraft. Now, a lot of the time they just do a raffle. Which of these mobs do you want to see? Then they develop a mob, and that's how we get frogs. That's how we get this. That's how we get that. And while it's not the most creative, they're just giving the community what they want most. Which, I mean, some people might argue, how does the community know what the best option is? The developer should just develop. But I mean, right now we have more music, more things to do in the Nether than ever before. The oceans possess content and biomes. There are gimmicks to certain biomes. The mesas possess more gold. The mountains possess the emerald, so that one's always been true. Villagers get changed almost every single update because people keep finding the best way to farm them. The combat update was extremely controversial at first, but that was because PvP servers were a big thing. But in truth, it's better than it ever could have been. Because before you used to just be a who can left click fastest. And that's why things like auto clickers exist. They still exist to click on perfect pace, but they're not as potent in PvP as they used to be. There's still cheats for the game, that hasn't changed, but the combat system now is you swing a weapon, a heavier weapon takes longer to swing again, faster weapon swings back faster, and they balance the damage accordingly. For those of you who don't play enough video games to know base mechanics of video games, DPS, damage per second, is calculated by two major stats. How much damage you do per hit, and how many times you hit. Might seem basic, but those two things are the base calculations for any sort of damage system. In a game like CSGO, for instance, the AWP is a one-shot kill most of the time. That is a very large amount of DPS because it does all of its damage in a single shot. But then we need to consider more than one shot. You miss the first shot. Well, now the second shot has to come out. The time between shots on the AWP is significant. It's the whole balance of the AWP. If you miss, then there's a chance you can get shot to death before you have the chance to recover. I'm actually going to toss 2 arrows for more wood because wood's a valuable resource. Anything else? Gravel? I need 64 gravel. I don't need this almost broken shovel. I'll keep 2 arrows. That's why the AK is so, well, that game also has things about like spread, controlling where your bullets go. But even in Minecraft, that's an important thing. What's known as tracking, which exists in CS as well. CS is a little more, you wouldn't believe it, a PvP game like CSGO, a little more intricate in the systems it uses to determine combat and its balancing. But Minecraft, I mean, a better player will probably wield the axe. And the reason for that is that a better player will miss less. They understand movement of other people, and they'll track you. Tracking is the ability to keep your cursor on a target. And it's an important skill to have, because you can't hit a target who you don't have your crosshair over. And when you click left click, whoever your crosshair is over, that's who's getting struck. If it's nobody, the weapon goes on cooldown for its attack duration, and you become vulnerable. So, it's a very big deal. That's why I prefer the sword, because it's lenient in case I make a mistake. finish punching this tree out. There we go. We'll let these leaves decay. We'll start picking up these saplings. Not that I generally care about it, but I probably will just fill a field with oak saplings. If more trees spawn apples, I'm pretty sure dark oak also does, but I mean, like, if birch does too, and I've just been ignoring it, oh well. It's not a big deal. But DPS is a huge thing. That's why something like the discussion I had about sharpness versus smite, I shouldn't just reference other conversations, I can rebring them up. Smite scales more, but only affects a certain type of enemy. Same with Bane of Arthropods. But the thing with that is that your general purpose sword, players are only affected by sharpness, so in PvP there's no question you bring a sharpness sword. And a sharpness sword is more effective all around because it affects all types of mobs instead of just one specific type. And while I guess you could carry several different types of weapons, carrying one sword that does it all because sharpness doesn't scale so much slower than smite is perfectly fine. I mentioned that I would be using a smite weapon later for the specific purpose of fighting the Wither. And I stand by that statement. I will probably design a special kit just for the Wither. It'll probably include some heavy blast protection, because I'm assuming it's the same thing with protection, by the way. Blast protection provides more protection from explosions than protection does. Protection, though, provides protection from all sources, while projectile protection only from projectiles, but it does so better. That's why when I used to PvP, my ideal set was 3 pieces of protection armor and 1 piece of projectile protection armor, because I would try to stick with a bow because I was pretty lousy at click speed. Now we're in the swing speed, where everything has a duration and the shield exists. Also, shields kind of throw off swords a lot, but thankfully, in PvE, my DPS is less of a concern because I'm not trying to just who's going to die first, me or the other guy. It is a question solely of, can I kill my enemy as safely as possible? Because I will be fighting mobs with predictable AI, skeletons will try to strafe away from me and fire at me, zombies will walk in a straight line towards me, spiders lunge, creepers hiss then explode, endermen only when their eyes are looked at or if attacked will start to teleport into my vicinity, make strikes, and teleport away. Wither skeletons have swords and whack, but they just walk towards you like any melee skeleton does. Blazes fire left, right, center, or they used to. They feel like they don't anymore. I'm not 100% on that. But mobs have patterns. And for movement, all of them are fairly predictable. And if they're predictable, it's really easy to line up shots. I'm sure you've seen, if you've been watching, you've seen my shots against ghasts. Ghasts turn around at random. It's what makes them annoying. But they're also very weak mobs. They die to 2 arrows with a normal bow because they only have 10 health or 5 hearts. Health is technically considered 1 per half heart. So most mobs, like the zombie skeleton, actually share your health at 10 hearts or 20 health. A spider has 8 hearts or 16 health. And that's why big mobs that have like 450, I don't remember which boss has that much, I think that might be the Warden, are so potent. You can't just sit there and trade hits. You can't hit them once and let them hit you once. But you regenerate normally. So in a battle of attrition, meaning a battle that goes on, a battle that's determined by resources rather than anything else, Minecraft Steve normally wins. We're going to leave this crafting table behind. It served us well. We now have golden apples. Golden apples are still useful. We've discussed that. But they're not really our main source of healing anymore. these 5 golden apples will probably not be used for a while, hopefully, but they provide us the ability to get up to 12 hearts, which can survive pretty lethal attacks. It also gives us a little bit of a shield, which, I mean, is just nice. Damage that only health that only lasts for 2 minutes isn't very valuable to us, so we can support. So it supports our reckless playstyle. But PvP has become better due to the swing speed. Now, a mob like, well, for a lot of mobs, it actually doesn't really matter too much because swing speed was always limited. Minecraft has an internal sort of click speed limiter where to hit the absolute best click speed, you already had to click exponentially faster than your opponent. So it has an internal click calculator where most people, because this game is focused to children, most children couldn't hit that click limit because they just don't click that fast. But somebody who's been playing a lot generally reached a point where they clicked close to the cap, which ended up being, I think, around like 18 clicks per second was the internal cap. So even if you had like a 22 CPS, it didn't matter. That is just sort of how that was. Now, I mean, that click speed, it matters to the precision of when the weapon comes out, but that's something you can just learn. And you sort of just get a feel for it over time. And once you generally feel how fast your weapon can swing, because you also don't get severely punished for swinging early. In PvP, you do, because every hit has to matter. You still do damage based off how much your sword is charged. It was a funny thing when the PvP update first came out, and you would go into a server with people who didn't understand it. They would just start to spam left click. And if they were spamming left click, then they did no damage to you because it was essentially just like punching. I remember I used to play Egg Wars. It was what existed before Bed Wars. We could, I mean, we're healthy enough and we're reckless enough. No, I have no inventory space. I wouldn't be able to collect loot anyways. And there's no reason to get element. Let's stand away from the giant crevice. The PvP was all very systematic. Could you click on pace? Could your opponent... Well, we have feather fallings, so that reduced the damage, thankfully. Wasn't a lot of damage, not even a concernable amount. Also, the shield existing kind of like pacing that. Well, we've fallen twice now on this little cliffside. Again, for a very minuscule amount of damage, but I just shouldn't have done it. As I was saying with the PvP, doing damage faster than your opponent. With the update, now you click. If you know the pacing better, you can block your opponent's attacks with a shield. Crossbows have become very good in PvP because instead of being able to, or the need to wind up a full shot, because for those of you who don't know, critical hits do boosted damage. The way you obtain them in Minecraft is by hitting while falling, while in the downward swing. So if you jump and you swing while falling, you crit. That's why you pace your attacks like that. Well, when you can. If it's all in fast-paced combat, you want to try to plan a jump, but you know your opponent's going to jump, they know you're going to jump, and you can do a lot with that. That's at the point of high-level mind games, though, which I enjoy, but not for everybody. There is a simple sort of truth to all of the combat. But shit, I lost my train of thought when I interrupted myself. I was talking about the maneuvering. The mind games. What did I mention just before the mind games? Huh, I completely lost my train of thought. Before I mentioned the mind games, what was I talking about? I was on some sort of... It's funny how that happens. You just suddenly lose the ability to think of certain things. Yeah, no, I completely lost the plot. I guess we'll just continue a different tangent then with movement, and maybe I'll accidentally refine my point. When you're out maneuvering your opponent, you sort of can do a lot to them. You can manipulate where they are, shove them around, use utility. I was probably making a point about... Oh, the crossbow! That's right. When you fire a bow, if you fire it only a little bit, without it being fully charged, the crits you do by landing by jumping. The bow critically hits when it's fully charged back. When it's fully charged back, the next arrow comes out with that spray particle, and that is a critical hit. It does bonus damage. I do live somewhere around this floating sandrock, or do I live near a different floating sandrock? I think I'm on the other side of the sandrock. Because it's quite a unique marker. The crossbow, however, you can charge the shot beforehand, loading an arrow and using it midst of combat, getting one ranged attack in where you didn't have one before. Yeah, I mean, it's a good landmark, floating chunk of land. Even the classic Minecraft music goes well. Anyways, the combat update was a good thing. Anybody who disagrees, don't worry, servers still have backwards compatibility, though the click speed limiter has changed significantly. So if you do play on one of those servers, even if you're a fast clicker, it doesn't matter as much. So what that means is, remember how I mentioned earlier it was like 18? The true hard cap of click speed was like 22. When a server uses that, whatever plugin it is that allows you to do 1.8 PvP and sooner, the click speed is still limited to, but you're playing on 1.9, you're still limited by 1.9's click speed limiter, which is significantly higher, because you don't need to be able to spam left click as much. So they decreased the amount you can really do it, which I'm sure had a purpose. So it's not as effective anymore. So you will actually get outclassed if somebody else, if the server allows for 1.8 and you're playing on 1.16 and they're playing on 1.6. Well, I doubt 1.6. Also, I don't think it was 1. It was 1.9 that added the PvP. Holy Christ, it's been... We're on 1.20. It's been so long. I feel so old. Because it feels to me like it was a pretty recent update. But the combat, this is an improvement. The game requires more skill variance now. A higher skill ceiling and a slightly higher skill floor. Meaning the room for improvement goes way up, and the required skills to be considered at all go up by a little bit. Well, I did some basic stuff, lost a little bit of health, but got some more golden apples. No need to use any resources to heal back this little bit of damage taken. Got myself some arrows now. Here, we'll leave the 2. And there's the other green bed, the adventuring bed. I don't know what I'll do next time. I just wanted to play some Minecraft, so I did. And I only play this while recording, so... I'm sure I could get away with just doing things in the background, but I don't want to. Because the unpredictability of it all is that if I go to look over one of those cliffs and I slip and fall and die, that's going to end the run. If I die off camera, it's not going to be satisfying at all. Though I'm never going to die. Plus, that's what the feather falling 2s are for. I'm going for netherite boots with feather falling 4. Those have to be like the top priority. Though I don't have netherite, though I could go bed mining in the... That's not something I know very well. That's a dangerous prospect. I'll probably end up practicing that before I actually end up doing it. But we'll probably do some more overworld stuff. I'm not sure exactly what. Probably a little bit more exploration around just to see what's around. And I mean, maybe finding like a dark oak forest nearby, because that's a very dark wood color and it might accent a lot of what I'm going to end up doing. I'm not sure what color wood would really be like. I guess jungle. Jungle's no longer like pinkish, right? It's now sort of like a yellower brown. I'll have to see. Because if I'm going to make something, I'm probably going to start off with a little like, not fishing hut, but a small little extension into these waters, a small dock with sort of a boathouse, I guess. Something small yet quaint. And that might be worth building. But I'm going to end it there. Probably stop playing Minecraft, prepare for... Start setting up some Dungeons and Dragons stuff, because I'm setting up for my next mini campaign, because I just finished a big campaign. That's something I could rant about. So, good night, Amon Goetamenium. And good night, viewer.